Hi everyone, you got Gord here, your hurtin' hippie with Weedy Weekend 67. Yes, another weedless one. I've had my 7-year-old boy for a couple of weeks, so these news shows need to be without me partaking. However, that doesn't change the news. It just changes my ability to cheers to it. So, my good friends, and just for those who wonder, my door is closed. Nobody hears what I'm saying. Nobody's learning unless you watch this show. Let's start with our first thing in the news. The first thing is just a fun thing. I took it and I failed. It's what do you really, it's a quiz. Do you really know what weed looks like? And it presents you with a whole bunch of pictures and you're supposed to pick which one is truly weed and not oregano or something else. And I can't believe it, but it called me a reefer rookie. It said you got 0%. I did bad. How'd you do? Tell me below. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Truly, those pictures were difficult to distinguish from. So I don't think I'm a rookie. Anyways, the next story. Oh, cheers. The next story is who buys legal marijuana in America. It's an interesting thing. It's a story of the cross-section of who are the true consumers. So it's a bunch of averages. A bunch of averages don't tell us much. It really doesn't. So I give that as sort of a warning as to whether you should pay much attention to it. But it's interesting. I mean, the main point, the average recreational consumer is 37 years old. That's interesting. Marijuana dispensaries serve customers from 21 to 95 years old. The average marijuana consumer spends $33 on weed per trip to the dispensary, and yet spends an average of $6.45 in the year. I find that amazing, because they must be getting some kind of, they either just don't need it that much. I don't know. There are more than twice as many men than women in the customer loyalty program. Another interesting point. What can you make of those points? Very little. Legal sales of marijuana was 4.6 billion in 2014, 5.4 in 2015. And my age group, it only makes up 5.5% of smokers. Kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of demographics here, and you can go through them and figure out what's important to you, or start a discussion below as to what did you find in this one that was interesting to you and that we should talk about. It's a cool little story. It comes from 420intel.com. Cheers to that. This next one is something that I think is interesting for everybody. I keep talking about CBD is not a sole thing. It's something that's meant to be served with THC, but it also goes on it will segue into the next story really, really well. This is CBD Users Manual, everything you need to know marijuana medical compound. That's the story. I'm going to read a section here. In 2009, a handful of CBD-rich cannabis strains were discovered serendipitously in Northern California, America's cannabis breadbasket, where certified patients could access medical marijuana legally. This began a great laboratory experiment in democracy involving CBD-rich cannabis therapies. The advent of whole plant CBD-rich oil as a grassroots therapeutic option has changed the national conversation about cannabis. It's no longer a question of whether medical marijuana works. Today, the question is how to use cannabis for maximum therapeutic benefit. That's the important thing. So, Project CBD has created a CBD Users Manual for patients that address key questions about cannabis, cannabidiol, and therapeutics. What is CBD? Is the next thing. I'm not going to read the whole story to you. I never do. I bring the important things, but definitely this attacks CBD the way I have led you guys all along. This says, although a very important part of the plant, it should not be alone. Which is better? I'm going to read a part. Which is better, CBD or THC? Cannabidiol, CBD, and THC, the high causer, are the power couple of cannabis therapeutics. They work best together. The very second statement in that paragraph is they work best together. CBD and THC interact synergistically to potentiate each other's curative qualities. CBD enhances THC pain killing and anti-cancer properties while lessening the THC psychoactivity. So it does bring, with CBD, your high is not as high. CBD can also mitigate adverse effects caused by too much THC, such as anxiety and rapid heartbeat. CBD is fantastic. So it goes on, it talks about the best way to take CBD. Can CBD cure epilepsy? Amazing. What is the right CBD THC ratio for me? And that's an important piece of the conversation. Many people say, what works for you for anxiety? Or I recently asked, what works for you for fibromyalgia fog? When the fog hits, what works for you? Somebody came back with some CBD oil, and the heavy THC can sometimes take that fog away. I'm going to try that once I have some more CBD. I don't have any. But the right ratio depends on the mix of pain versus inflammation and your own body's ability to absorb and maintain a CBD or THC rich body. Very, very good read for those of you who want to really learn more about this. I've had so many people say to me, well, why don't we just get CBD from hemp oil? Well, hemp products have CBD, and yes, if you can extract pure CBD, absolutely pure, 97, 98% pure, then it almost doesn't matter where that CBD came from. However, hemp is a product, unlike cannabis, that absorbs the nature around it. Hemp can grow anywhere. So therefore, hemp, when mass produced, it isn't going to matter where it grows because it's not a food quality product. So it will absorb the nutrients in the soil, but it'll also absorb the contaminants in the air and its environment. So unless the CBD coming from that hemp product is pure, it will also contain contaminants because that will soak into the stock of hemp. Hemp is not a product to gain medicine from, even though it has minute pieces of the medicine in it. Hemp is a product for everything else, for fuel, for oil, for clothing, and for building. That's my opinion. That's my rant on CBD. CBD should come from THC-rich plants or THC-low plants, and learn until this industry gets to a point of maturity. It's us, the consumer, us, the patient, that needs to know the most. Because, and we will get to that, our doctors don't know enough. They just don't know enough. Next story, everyone, have your cheers to CBD. And the next story is quite an interesting story. It comes from kalw.org, and it's cannabis patients don't necessarily want to get high. I have said this all along. I don't. There are maybe once every couple of weeks where I think, it'd be nice to sit around and just get high. Just enjoy the time. But 99% of the time, all I'm looking for from my product is to take this pain away, to help me sleep, to take a headache away. Or today, my back. is so much in pain. And today would be a good day for CBD rich stuff, and I don't have any. I have one little bit of flower left here, I think. Yep. I have a little bit here of critical mass, CBD critical mass. That's going in me after this because I need to go on a long walk that's going to hurt my back. Have to get some groceries. It's something we gotta do. So this story, anyways, patients don't necessarily want to get high. I always go on a tangent on that. First thing I notice in this story is the picture. It's a picture of the marijuana plant and its seeds and other parts of it. And it says below, cannabis, as illustrated in Kohler's Book of Medicinal Plants from 1897. We knew how medicinal this was 120 years ago. And we're still fighting our government to make it legal. That picture has 1,000 words to it, and I only spoke a few. It comes with a 6-minute discussion about it. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I may later. And it goes on to talk about how CBD and cannabis works really well for so many people. And it has a story of a woman, the woman writing this, how she first tried a cannabidiol CBD cream on her back. I have one similar from MMJ Total Healthcare. And those, believe me, that will go on my back before I go for my walk. And it is amazing. As she puts it, I was a little nervous, she admits, so I rubbed some on my lower back. And I think it was maybe 15 to 20 minutes later. It was noticeable improvement. I could tell that my back was feeling better. And I remember thinking, God, this is so wild. Not wild because she was getting high. That wasn't happening. It was wild because it was working so well. That's the thing that people just get absolutely amazed about when they get the right medicine on the right thing. It doesn't matter that it's cannabis. If it works, it works. That's a beautiful, beautiful thought. We just got to get there. If it works, it works. So let's get it in there. Let's get it in there. The next story is just something attached for you Canadians below. And FYI for all you Americans, for my wonderful followers in Europe and Australia and all over the place. You may want to learn how our programs are changing, because your programs are too, or starting like Australia in their infancy. This is a link that our government put out on the 24th to say, okay, the MMPR program is closed, ACMPR program, access to cannabis for medical purposes and regulation. It's the new program. It's how, and this is how people can apply to grow. The only thing our government did towards the Allard decision that they were supposed to increase access is allow growing. However, from what I've read, this is such restrictive growing, I'd love your opinions, people, that it could cost you an arm and a leg to grow. The restrictions are huge. The visits, the sending your cannabis away for testing, everything seems to be so restrictive that I do not feel it is a positive, and no other positive came from it. No protection for dispensaries, no protection for pharmaceutical type outlets to buy from same day, just protecting the old LPs. So I am not currently applying because I'm waiting for others to have gone through some of the loops, figure out some of the problems, and let me know. I will be applying to grow, and we will see how that happens over time. You'll be with me. You'll be on that trip with me. But I want to learn more from other people, and a brand new program, no, don't get in that mud right away of every single person across Canada saying, I want to grow, pick me. Learn from them. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's below. Click on it. Apply if you wish. Don't apply if you don't. The next story. And this one I shared last Monday, and it's had a lot of hits all week long. This really rings home to me because it's one of my conditions. Why regulating cannabis for PTSD is important. Very, very important. I want to read this to you. Whenever we hear about PTSD, we usually think about military soldiers or people with jobs that expose them to extreme situations, like police officers or firefighters. But it can also affect anyone who's been exposed to any kind of severe trauma. Currently, doctors prescribe treatment in the form of pharmaceuticals, but other options, such as cannabis, may be more beneficial for those suffering PTSD. PTSD symptoms include flashbacks of that trauma, angry outbursts, avoidance, self-destructive behavior. Unlike other emotional or physical traumas, PTSD doesn't go away, and those suffering may have to deal with their conditions for their entire lives. It is what sets off my panic attacks. Sometimes worse than others, and this last week has been a hard week for me. Finances have gone way down the toilet. Again, my GoFundMe is below. And I'm trying to make it from day to day, not paycheck to paycheck anymore, but day to day. And trying to find solutions. I haven't found them yet. I do not want to go into what the trauma was that gave me this. But I had it so under control for a fair while. But it never goes away. And this will get under control again once I can satisfy some of the issues in my life. I would encourage any of you, if you know somebody with PTSD, or just to understand it better, read this entire thing. Learn how the treatments of cannabis can change so much. Believe me, a proper indica when suffering a panic attack is not as good as the pharmaceutical that ends the panic attack, but that pharmaceutical that ends the panic attack also creates a huge addiction to it and other side effects to your body. I say my opinion, cannabis is the best option for PTSD. But if you know somebody who has it, they should at least have that option to choose it. And we are at the end of Weedy Weekend. We are in a week where Canada has taken one tiny, tiny step forward in the medical cannabis world, and I think a whole bunch of steps back. I am hoping for new lawsuits against them so that we can work this out properly. We'll get there. We will get there. I thank you for joining me. I hope you have thumbs up, subscribed, shared, let other people know that they can get their news here, and hopefully other things too. I will try my best to keep bringing talking tokes to you, and maybe the odd off my cuff if I can do it. I'm just so busy trying to fix this problem. Peace and cheers, love and harmony. If you see someone without a smile today, please give them yours. Pass mine too.